Well, good evening. My apologies, I'm a little bit croaky, so I may cough and splutter. A little bit like Theresa May. I'm about as attractive as well. So, Power Metal Resources, can I ask a couple of questions at the start, please? Who invests in mining and exploration at the moment in the room? If you could put your hands up. Okay. Of those investors in mining and exploration, who actually has shares in Power Metal Resources? Okay. So herein lies my advantage, opportunity, or problem. Let me tell you a story. Mining and exploration saved my life, financially and personally. Back in 2008, when we had a little global financial crisis, my marriage was failing, and my personal finances were in the mire. And I came to the conclusion that as a pretty poor accountant, I'm a chartered accountant for my sins, but numbers are not my thing, I needed to do something pretty drastic to restore fortune. So I looked at the market after the global financial crisis and the crumpled stock market and the valuations on the floor and decided mining and exploration was the future. So I thought I'd invest my little pot of cash. It wasn't that much. It was in the thousands, nearly 5 figures, but not a great deal. It certainly had diminished by about 90% from where it was a few years before. I picked the best stocks using about 3 factors, and I went for AIM because I thought they were horrendously undervalued. Got down to about 20 stocks in December 2008, and then narrowed them down to around 5 or 6 based on a further 5 factors. Now, the 3 main driving factors were they a good story? Did they have a good financing profile? And thirdly, were they hated by the market and everyone in it and around it? Then I started to invest. In the first week, I made a 5 times return from a little company called CAMEROON Minerals. And the return for me was astonishing. To make a couple of thousand, £3,000 was life-changing at the time. And so we celebrated at KFC on Friday evening with the family. And we had a big bucket, a happy bucket, whatever it was called at the time. And then a short while after we had it, my son was violently sick in the bucket. And ever since then, I've never been back to KFC. Anyway, the upshot of this is, after 2 years of investing as a pretty average investor, my portfolio went up 200 times. One of the main proponents of that increase was a company called Red Rock Resources that I'd bought for 0.25 pence in 2008, and in 2 years went up about 80 times, if I can add up correctly, to around 20 pence a share. The chairman of Red Rock is in the room at the back, Andrew Bell. He's also my chairman on Power Metal Resources. I'm not a fantastic investor, but what 2008 taught me is that you buy with conviction when nobody else is convinced. And you stick with that message all the way through. Don't buy the popular. Don't buy the stuff that's in the papers. Buy the stuff that everybody hates, because that will give you the biggest return. And I was lucky to find that moment. And when I went to the Nationwide Building Society to pay £65,847.53 off with a cheque off my mortgage, the lady said to me, "Oh, it seems you've paid your mortgage off. You have no mortgage. How does that feel?" I said, "Slightly disturbing, because my next appointment is with the solicitor to sign the house over in my first wife's name." And she said to me, "Well, with your changing financial circumstances, would you like to speak to one of our advisors?" And I thought, no, I'm going to stay with this sector. Now, it's ups and downs. It's a turbulent roller coaster, and you have to be very careful and diversified. But I saw a presentation recently from someone, and I don't know if this is true, but it's a great idea, that there are more people alive today than have ever died. In the context of the last presentation, that makes for a great business model in the future, I think. And the need for metals and minerals and so on has never been more pronounced and significant than now. The chairs you sat on, the buses, taxis, chauffeur-driven cars that you take to an event like this, The pens you write with, the recording equipment, the room, the building and everything else are all natural resources. The growth in demand of the power metals, electric cars, batteries and so on and so forth, the forward profile has never been greater. We're in a wonderful time of opportunity. Well, I want to go back to that point about invest in things that are hated. I'm here today because my stock is hated. And there are a million reasons, well, maybe not a million, but certainly 7, 8, 9 or 10 why you should not buy this share or even consider it. One is that a couple of years ago it was 70 pence and now it's at 0.525, which is 99% or so loss of value. Great opportunity, if you look at it from my perspective. They were suspended pending financial clarification on the AIM market back in December last year, December 18. Stocks rarely get suspended. It's not a good thing when they do. It means there's a few problems in the background. And what we did, Andrew and I, is we came along, we saw this opportunity. It was called African Battery Metals back then. And we thought we could do something with this vehicle. So we looked into it and we found it was definitely doable. We raised £1 million, 0.5 pence, and we brought it back onto the market with the help of advisors and the market itself in February 2019, so a few months ago. We brought it back to life. There were some management changes and there were some structural changes in the business, and we started the process of a strategic and operational review, which is great fun, I can tell you. When you take over a business that's had financial difficulties, you have to do things absolutely right and very carefully all the way through the process, because the exchange is looking, the investors are looking, and in every way, shape and form, people don't like you. So going back, we are a hated stock. We're hated because as a business, we have failed traditionally in the past. We failed to bring projects forward. And in our business, investors want 10, 20, 30 times returns. In other businesses, 8%, 10%, 5%, whatever a year is fabulous because it meets the purpose. In our business, there is high risk. So we had to look at everything very carefully, step by step. We're hated because management have failed in resource companies all the time. And people are very suspicious of management. One of the reasons why is because management tend to pay themselves too much in the resource space. I saw a report recently that said the spend on management and administration in resource companies is shockingly high, and the spend on exploration, the stuff where you can find something, is shockingly low. And part of that is a function of the cost of running an AIM company or a company on the ASX or the TSX, the Australian and the Canadian markets. But part of it is people do pay themselves too much. We don't. If anyone wants to ask us afterwards about pay levels, please do. I'll happily tell you. We'll be publishing details on the website soon so that everyone can see exactly where we are. Now, in terms of our company, let's run through this presentation. When you come to these events, do you sit there hanging on, hoping for the canapes at the end? No, I do. Unfortunately, Chris said I couldn't have canapes because I'm a presenter. There's our disclaimer. Okay. Apologies to the camera there. Our disclaimer says, do not believe anything I say, do not buy our share, do not consider buying our share. You're crazy if you think about buying our share. We are a hated stock. If you get to the bottom of that, you win a prize. No prize, sorry. Okay, so about Power Metal Resources. We have interests in 5 jurisdictions, which will flash up on the screen. There we go. Ivory Coast, Cameroon, the DRC, Tanzania, and Botswana. We're spread, reasonably diversified. One of the key tricks of being on the markets is you have to maintain a reasonable spread of opportunities where you can, because that mitigates your risk. So we're across 5 jurisdictions. There's the board of directors. In fairness, we're all pretty hated at the moment. Andrew Bell is our chairman. People don't like him. And there's a number of reasons for that, some of which I agree with, in fairness. People don't like me. I have a few haters out there in the marketplace, and in fairness, on some of the points that they make, they're right, because directors are human beings after all. And then the two existing directors of the business from times past as African Battery Metals are up there, Ian and Scott, and they're not much liked either. So we're a pretty hated crew. But from hate comes opportunity, and I will keep saying that. There's our company structure, 363 million shares in issue at 0.525 pence a share. I would normally need a calculator, but it's about £2 million market cap. We're a bit smaller than the last presenter in terms of valuation. But again, therein lies the opportunity. I generally, as a personal investor, like to go for below 5 million cap companies in the first instance, because you can get the really big value lifts from that. Here's the reason why we focused on battery metals, power metals, and that's because we think the forward supply-demand dynamic is astonishing. And also because the business was called African Battery Metals, and therefore we can't change things too much, and we have to keep pushing forward in the same direction. But we like it, and that's why we carry on. Okay, into the projects. Now, in most exploration and mining businesses, exploration businesses, you'll find they usually have, if they have a mix of projects, they'll have an A, B, C, D, and E project. A will be the number one favourite, B will be pretty hot and good, C will be sat there just in case something goes wrong with A, and D and E will be quietly forgotten because they've failed or because they don't really know what to do with it or haven't got the cash to develop it. In our business at the moment, I would say we possibly have 3 A projects. We certainly have a B project, and we have an undecided, we don't know where we are with it yet project, but we're working on it. So very briefly, running through them. This presentation is on our website. You will receive it later. And if you have a look at our website, it carries right now, and it will carry even more in the future, lots of information about what we're doing and how we're going about things. We have a project in the DRC. It was one of the legacy original projects we inherited in February. We decided to do some low-cost work, termite mound sampling across the project, and we expected some reasonable results. What we got stunned us. We got a 7-kilometre long copper anomaly through the heart of our licence areas. Now, we didn't expect this. It's very positive news, but straight away that elevates the project to quite a significant level. We've got the full report, and we're looking at it right now, and we will make announcements on it. If you look at our news feed, you'll see announcements all the time. We like to keep people informed. If you put your money into my company, I will tell you what's going on all the time. If you put money into my company, I treat it like my own. It's protected, it's preserved, and we will spend it in the best way we can, and we'll tell you about how we're doing it. Because at the end of the day, I have to protect Gladys in Glasgow, who invests £500. The big funds can look after themselves. They know how to lose money better than anyone else. But in terms of my investors, at this level of market value, it's the small investors that make the difference. So I will look after their money in every way, shape or form. And I make mistakes and I may lose it for them, but I will try my damnedest to keep it intact and to grow dramatically. So DRC, we have a 7-kilometre copper anomaly. We're looking into it. It's hugely exciting. There's some plants. I would actually say what that means in detail, but we'll be here for about 4 hours and you won't want that. So moving on to the second project, CAMEROON. Now this project is a collection of licenses sat next to the world's largest cobalt deposit outside of the DRC. We have licensed ground that I believe is bigger than this big project, which is called the CAMEROON deposit. And we're theorising that if we test the ground by sinking some pits, low-cost work, which is what we do, and we find mineralisation and geology similar to that major deposit, which is nearby, we have a major asset on our hands in Cameroon. So we're doing that work right now, and there are announcements about it on the public newswires, and there will be announcements coming up. Again, we will tell you every step of the way. So we have a second project there that may be very, very valuable to our business. We have a third project in the Ivory Coast. This is the third legacy project we inherited in February 2019. We're in the process of looking at that at the moment. That's a chrome, nickel, cobalt project. We will be coming back to market, providing further updates on that soon. I have 6 minutes left. Very close to the canapes. Heneti Nickel Project in Tanzania, a project I've been following for a few years. We acquired a 25% interest in that recently. We have a right to buy into another 10% for £25,000. Our joint venture partner on that project is Katoro Gold. Anyone who likes cheap stocks, have a look at Katoro Gold. KAT on AIM. We think it's hugely undervalued. Anyway, we acquired this up to 35% interest in the project. Why? Because it's a nickel sulfide target project. It has huge strike lengths, up to 80 kilometres long. We're about to drill it. We've announced to market that drilling is underway very, very soon. And we are delighted because this is a major opportunity for us to work in conjunction with the team at Katoro. We acquired it with an interesting transaction that I'll come on to in a second that involved us buying shares in Katoro at twice the market price. But hopefully, and you never know with this business, if we can strike some interesting mineralisation, this will be another major opportunity for our company. A bit more information. There's Katoro Gold. Now, this is a company with a market cap like us, around £2 million or so. It has 750,000 or 754,000 ounces of JORC-compliant gold in its portfolio. It's in Tanzania. Tanzania and gold are a little bit of a difficult topic at the moment, but things will improve, I'm sure, with time. But they also have their interest in Heneti that we're working with them on. We bought into this stock, or the Heneti project, by buying 10 million shares in Katoro at 1 pence a share. That was their par value, the lowest price they could raise at. And we acquired 10 million warrants at 1.25. At the time we struck the deal, the share price was under half a penny, so we overpaid. That overpayment gave us the interest in Heneti. Now, the share price of Katoro has gone up. Yippee, it's now 1.1 pence a share. We think it has a long way to go, but it means that the original investment was a good one. We've not so much got our money back, but the value of our investment is restored. Have a look at Katoro. It's a wonderful opportunity, we think, for a big riser in the weeks, months and years to come. If we strike at Heneti, it will rise. And then we have a project in Botswana, the Malopo Farms project that's owned by Kalahari Key Mineral Exploration. We bought 18.26% of Kalahari Key a short while ago. The money that we gave them, they're spending on work. They've identified 17 potential mineral-bearing targets within their licensed ground in Botswana. It's a huge swathe of ground. They're sat near to Kavango, that those of you on the markets who invest regularly will be familiar with. And they're in Botswana. The last deal I signed in Botswana was with Metal Tiger, where we paid $100,000 to take a 30% stake in a project with MOD Resources. That project, they found a major discovery of copper. We're targeting nickel here, but that copper discovery, Metal Tiger and MOD, has just been sold to Sandfire for, I think, I'll get this figure wrong, I'll be very embarrassed, but I think it's around 175 million Australian dollars or so. So the last time I was in Botswana, we found a major deposit. I'm looking forward to this project here. We think it has tremendous potential, and it falls into that category, a major opportunity. You need in our business to have targets that could change your company overnight. I need our investors to believe, and I need it to be the case, that with the work that we're doing, any day there could be an announcement that makes them significantly wealthier, significantly happier, and makes people believe that we're doing a great job, because as directors of the company, we are the stewards of your money, stewards of your opportunity, and this type of project gives us the chance to make a difference in your life. So there's a bit more information. So there's the reason why you invest in Power Metal Resources. I give you my word, 1 minute left, that I will do my damnedest to work hard. My wife is here at the back, Michelle. She comes along to the presentations now, which worries me. So I can't say we're going to make a 100 times return, because Michelle will spend it for me now. But instead, I can say that Michelle will chat to any of you and talk about what happens in my life. I am a workaholic, and I am focused on making this company a success. And if you have an interest in this company and want to talk to me about it, my telephone number is on the RNSs. So if you want to speak about things, ring up. If you want direct mobile number, then please, no problem at all. Send me an email and I'll give you the mobile number and I'll ring you back. We do not work office hours. If you want to speak to Andrew, Andrew will also take your calls. In fact, direct them at Andrew because he loves it. But in terms of our business, the only thing that matters is to make a dramatic return on your money. We might not do it, but past history suggests we have a damn good chance. And at the moment, the market in commodities is very difficult. Sentiment is low, stocks are hated. You would think it's the worst place to be, and therefore, by definition, it's the best. Thank you.
Okay, there are questions for Paul, please. Gentleman here at the front, please, Peter.
Thank you. Your project seems or sound very exciting. Could you just make sure in the country your project is in, how stable is the economically and politically? Are you worried that one day might be renationalized?
I think I'd be more worried perhaps if we were in maybe Russia or China with regard to geopolitical risk. I remember a few years ago in the press overseas, they were saying that you shouldn't travel to the United Kingdom because of the riots that were actually happening, and on this occasion happening in my home city, Manchester. And it was, of course, ludicrous, the concept that you couldn't go on a barge on the Thames and have a nice night out, you know, be reasonably safe because of riots in Manchester a long way away. I think it's about understanding the geopolitical risk and balancing your risk so you don't overinvest in a country or a jurisdiction where there might be some challenges and problems down the line. Inevitably, the way the world has gone, I think, although the geologists would argue, there are probably two main areas of new mineral discovery. One will be in the territories that some people may consider a bit too risky, in which case you just have to go in there with the knowledge and information available to you. And we have to do business in a very careful way because the UK Bribery Act, it prevents any kind of misbehaviour in terms of paying people money to do things for you. So you have to do proper business. And then the other second area of potential mineral deposits are when they're undercover, like the Botswanan opportunity there, which is undercover, and the traditional techniques of finding outcrops of the mineralisation at surface and testing and so on, they're not really there. With Botswana, they've flown helicopters with booms underneath, you know, collecting data below the ground. And the mineralisation in many cases is, you know, tens of metres below sand cover. So it's quite difficult to find. But with new technology, things are moving on. So in both those environments, as it were, geopolitical risk and technical difficulty, you just have to work around it and do the best you can. I would not, in this type of early stage business, want to go, you know, stick my neck out on a single project in a single jurisdiction. Perhaps if something was far more advanced, it might be justifiable.
Yeah. Gentleman at the back, please.
When are you likely to require a further cash raising?
Oh, great question. Financing is a big issue because most of the firms on AIM, you know, people worry about them because they finance at heavy discounts. Nick Emerson, are you in the room, sir? Our broker is at the back. If you, he's a good-looking chap with, he's 50 years of age, as I will be in 3 weeks, and he clearly doesn't look it. Speak to Nick about how we finance the companies and how I financed companies in the past. I do not do steeply discounted raises. It's not the way things should be done. So that's to allay the fears of people out there. Secondly, access to money. If we need to get some money, we can get some money wherever we want to. It's not a problem. And we trust ourselves on that, and we've always been okay in terms of the business I've been involved with to get the finance. So no steeply discounted placings are not done at the worst possible time. We would like to make our own money. Our Catoro investment, we think, at currently 1.1 pence a share, worth £110,000, has all the possibilities of driving up dramatically. When I was on the board of Metal Tiger, we invested in Kibo Mining, £150,000, shares and warrants, same type of package as Catoro, and within a few weeks we'd made about £1 million. And obviously that was completely transformational for us. So there's a possibility of making our own money as well, although we're not an investing company, we're mainly focused on operations. So there's lots of different angles and ways to skin the cat. We raised £1 million in February. We're in a strong financial position. We don't spend vast amounts of cash. Our programs are very cost effective, particularly in the original projects. We're sensing out the projects, as it were, with programs that don't cost the earth. And we feel confident about money in the future. We have warrants in place at 1 pence from the original financing, so if we drive our share price to around 1.5 to 1.8, we'll start to see warrant conversions, and that could provide us with a couple of £1 million of cash as well. So there's a multitude of ways that we can raise money apart from the traditional financings, but as I say, steeply discounted raises, whether for whatever reason they're done, are not my bag. And I certainly, if you buy shares on the market, you need to have a trust in this board that it will not screw you down the line by doing a heavily discounted raise.
Just one more question.
Yeah.
With all the targets out there, what's your priority?
That's a very good question. Honestly, let me answer that in a politician's way. There's three things that count. If there's a good story that people can follow, from a small cap company, it's worth developing. If you have the possibility of major metal discoveries, then it's worth following. If you can finance the project, there's no point getting something that's going to, from our stage of development, if I came out and said we had to spend £3 million in the next 12 months, you would all laugh at me because fundamentally I don't have the resources to do it, having raised £1 million in February. So it has to be funded reasonably without stretching the finances too much. So all these factors come into play, which makes it very difficult for me. When Metal Tiger with MOD Resources in February 2016 found the T3 deposit in Botswana, we found 50 metres of 1.97% copper. My chairman at the time, Terry Grammer, a renowned geologist in Australia, told me that without question this was a major opportunity and in his view would be a mine. That kind of data coming in and that kind of view tends to make you focus quickly. So the honest answer is I don't know. I think at the moment in the portfolio we've got 4 major metal discovery opportunities in those jurisdictions. I can't narrow it down at this point.
Any other questions, please? Would you mind, you mentioned Metal Tiger a couple of times, for those who don't know you, giving a little bit of a background as to your experience in listed markets and resources companies and how you've got from that inflection point of investing to where you are now?
Yeah, when in 2008 to 2011, when all this crazy stuff was going on, and please, you can ask any question about it you like, because I was very fortunate. We found that the information available in the public domain for mining companies, exploration companies, was poor. So our colleague, Malcolm, are you in the room, sir? Malcolm Palais over there, we were investing. Both of us suffered at the hands of the markets and we nearly lost our shirts. But we set up Mining Maven, an investor relations service. And from that, one of our clients had a bit of a problem, ECR Minerals, when the shareholders fired half the board. So I went on the board of ECR and then got involved with Metal Tiger and various Greatland Gold and Thor Mining and other companies over the way over the last few years. Now, in most cases, the companies that perform dramatically well are genuinely hated. Metal Tiger was despised because it was previously called Brady Exploration and hadn't performed. Greatland Gold had been 10 years on the market and hadn't performed and had lost money consistently. Greatland Gold, incidentally, when Metal Tiger put some money into Greatland Gold, sold at 0.1 pence. Within a couple of years, the share price was trading at 2.7, I think was the high. So 25 times your money had you invested near the lows. In all these cases, you just need that core degree of hatred in the markets for the company. You need some kind of story that you can build upon. So it can't be something that's completely vacuous and empty. If you haven't got a story, you need to get one pretty quickly. You need to have access to proper money on a sensible basis, not dilute people too quickly, too harshly, and then communicate. If you think about this, I'm from a Christian, evangelical Christian family, and don't hide your light under a bushel was taught to me on a regular basis at Sunday school. And if you think about it, if none of you in this room know about a stock, there's no awareness, you will never buy it, no matter how good it is. You know, so you have to raise your awareness, you have to do events, you have to do market news announcements, media interviews, Q&As and all the rest. And you raise the awareness, then it becomes a question of confidence. Confidence is I can control awareness, I can't control confidence. Confidence is market factors, it's how you feel about your own decision making as an investor, it's what you feel about the management teams, it's your experience of investing in the markets, your access to capital, how much cash you've got that's disposable, because that's all you should risk in our space, and so many of those different factors. But I think you can help increase confidence by being a disciplined management team, by delivering regular flow of news to market, by financing in the right way and so on, and building a proper business model. We are not, we're here for one reason, and that's to build a commercial business. We have to pay our own way, we have to generate returns for shareholders. We don't do traditionally dividends in that sense in the early stage companies. What we do is capital growth. My personal objective is to drive our share price initially to 5 pence, because I always think you have to do 10 times on your original entry level. And if you can do that, then you've given people an adequate return. Obviously, I can't really talk about that in the corporate, from the corporate view. It's my personal perspective, but that's our target. So you will see and hear from us all the time. Whether you choose to look is not my... and I can't do anything about it. But at least now everyone in the room is aware of the story, and you have my promise to work as hard as we can to make it happen. And if you don't believe that I will, speak to Michelle and she'll tell you what I'm really like.
On that note, thank you very much indeed, Paul. Thank you.